So, just recently, the NBA has started to give out fan warning cards. Now, these warning cards discuss if you're disruptive to the game, if there's an issue with you and a fan, a referee, another, or a player, or something like that, you will be ejected. I did a video on this yesterday, so if you haven't seen it, go to my channel and check it out. Now, in Europe, the EuroLeague basketball is much different. The fans are crazy. Kevin Durant visited Greece and watched a basketball game there, and his way of describing was, "This is nuts." He could not believe it. He said it was like being in a war zone, and it's something that several NBA players who have gone over to Europe to play has said. And they said it's actually something that you have to get used to when you first go there. Some of them are actually afraid of the European fans because they are so extreme, so passionate. And I'm just going to give you some examples of some of the things that the EuroLeague basketball players deal with versus the NBA players. And this is all because of the fans. It's not anything else but fan behavior. So it's typical for fans in the stadium, arena, whatever you want to call it, to have flares. You could be watching the game, all of a sudden some flares shoot up in the air. It's to the point where athletes who are sitting on the bench actually have a mesh covering so that if things are thrown, they are not hit. Players, when they're playing, have actually been hit with materials. In one game, there was a player who was at the free throw line. That it came out properly now, and he was actually hit with a boulder. He was taken off, checked out, and then told go back in the game. Shocked. Other players were shocked that he was expected to go back and play, but this is what they deal with. There's times where fans run onto the court. Police, security, get them back in their seats. There's a delay of game. Players come back out and they play the game. It's not unknown for fans to be throwing glass from the stands. Fans show up to 2 hours before a game actually starts. So they get comfortable in their seats. There's drinking. They're smoking cigarettes. The poor athletes who have to run up and down the court are running in an arena full of smoke. So your lungs have to get used to playing in a European league where people are smoking indoors. Some players talk about the fact that they can't even, they're at the sideline, their coaches, putting up plays for them. They can't even hear them because the fans are so loud. And when a game is finished, it's not like here in North America when, a game is finished, people just get up and they leave. No, they hang out. They sing, they cheer, they have flags. It's typical for it to be a whole afternoon or a whole evening event. It's just not a couple of hours. You're in you're in your seat half an hour before the game. The game's a couple of hours and then you leave. Now, this can be an event for an entire day in EuroLeague. It's been known, too, that the player buses have had to deal with fans coming up to the buses, shaking them, throwing things at them. And now I'm not condoning this. I'm just telling you what it's like to play in EuroLeague basketball. There was, players who talked about, like, this is just madness. And they say that they were afraid even though they grew up from the South Side. This is not a typical thing a player is used to dealing with. And what they say is when they first get there, they're afraid. They can't believe that this is what happens at a basketball game. But eventually they grow to love the passion. It builds excitement. It's like being in an arena where everybody is so into the game that seats are rocking. Just imagine, seats are rocking, people are yelling, flags are being flown, people start singing, at a lot of entertainment games, I'll call them, here in North America, you're lucky you get a wave happening through the thing. That's not what happens in Europe. In Europe, people are passionate. They'll start singing the national anthem. They'll start chanting things. And the thing is, the fans know the chants. Everybody's saying it. There have been fans who have been arrested and banned from games because of the behaviors. But again, these seem to be much more extreme behaviors than what happened in the NBA. In the NBA, where you have players who become offended when they're given the finger or they're called names, they would probably be laughed at in Europe. Because in Europe, basketball, you're expected to have tougher skin than that. Europeans are fanatics, not just in basketball, but in football, or what you would call in North America soccer. They are in love with the game of basketball. They like players, they love their teams. Here, it seems to be the other way around. Some people are fans of teams, but a lot of times you'll say, I'm a LeBron fan, or I'm a Westbrook fan, I'm a James Harden fan, I'm a Giannis Antetokounmpo fan. They are for their team. They grow up with their families rooting for a specific team, and that's what they grow up with. Players come and go, but the team remains the same. If you are at the stadium, again, it's been described as a war zone. People have been known to rip chairs up and things are thrown. And players have to learn to actually focus on the game, even though all that's happening. So imagine, you're playing a game of basketball, players are going, chanting is going, flags are going, things are being thrown, chairs are being thrown, craziness. They've discussed the craziness in Greece, in parts of Turkey, in Serbia. It's some would describe it similar to gang mentality or a gang atmosphere, because people will just swarm and do something. And a couple of NBA players have described it almost to the point where it's like gangs on steroids. It's not even gang activity, it's gangs on steroids. But that passion gives players energy. Here, like I said, if a fan says something rude to an NBA player, they want them kicked out of the game. In Europe, basketball players have actually been threatened. They've actually said, I'm going to kill you. And security has to stay sometimes with the players for hours until the arena is cleared and players can leave. So if you're like me and you think that the NBA has gone soft, put that in the comment section. Or just the Europeans just way more crazy, nuts, fanatical, however you want to put it, than the NBA fans here. Subscribe to Rovis Rants, hit the like button. Please check my content for other materials. I cover everything from football, so I'd say American football versus, soccer, what other people would call it, or football in Europe, basketball. There's some baseball content. Hockey season is coming up. There's been some boxing stories. So subscribe to Rovis Rants, hit the like button, and we will see